Well, thank you for the introduction. Actually, I really liked the Kiki's presentation, so I definitely want to talk to you. I don't see you anymore. Yeah, there. That's a very important message that she's passing, especially to students. And of course, there are a lot of messages that we want to pass to everyone. And today, what I want to do is basically to pass a message to the educators. This is one of the angles that we're going to talk about as well, because we, as an educational solution company, that we talk to a lot of educators, teachers, and we give them trainings, workshops, and then it turns out you give them like a whole day training or 2 days, a week training, continuously for half a year, and afterwards they came back and said, look guys, I'm doing this training only because some people in the government or in the policymakers, they force me to do it, and they give me money to do this training, but I don't get at all. And that's mainly creates a lot of problems there, because teachers are really nervous about it, and they don't own the knowledge, and they will start to feel, how am I going to teach kids if I don't know anything about it? So that's why the message today I'm trying to pass to the educators, keep calm and have fun. So I will get to that step by step, but I know MakeBlock is a startup company and it's not well known in a lot of countries yet. So that's why at the beginning I want to give you a little bit of introduction about us, about myself, just to convince you a little bit that I'm not talking about nonsense here. So I'm myself currently general manager at MakeBlock Europe. I'm located in Amsterdam, still doing my PhD at TU Delft, system control. And actually, I started programming when I was 5 years old. That actually goes to the last point. My parents both are computer science teachers in university. And then I had quite a lot of experience doing developers, but there are a lot of languages that I've been using in the past, but also the other things like learning a new language is not a problem anymore. And what's the problem is if I have the idea to use the languages, and also I had a background for electronic engineering, control engineering, and I'm also a maker. But I just want to tell a little bit about the experience that you see when you start to learn coding, to do making things from very early stage. Actually, you don't feel it anymore when you grow up. It's becoming very natural. So that's what I think the education should change as well. If we start teaching them C++ when they are 20 years old, it's probably already too late, because they could handle it when they are just 7 or 8 years old. And a little bit about MakeBlock. So MakeBlock is a startup, but we started in US, and then we moved back to China for development. In 2014, we already started the education market from a whole DIY platform. And the idea is that we don't want to create a bubble in education. We want to bring the real technology to education. So that's why we built a DIY platform, fully industrial standards, and bring it into education. And throughout the years, we already have quite some achievements with all kinds of kids. If you've been to the competition sites, you will also see quite a lot of our robots going on there. And now STEAM education is a very hot topic, and we as a company are already on this market for 5 years. And as a company, we get 500 people, more than half of R&D to keep updated with everyone, but we talk to teachers constantly as well. So now currently we're already in 20,000 schools, get experience, get feedback, iteration about the products all over the world, 140 countries. So then I will start to discuss a little bit, passing the message, that's what I want to give. First, I will talk to the teachers, and then I will talk to the kids, and then I will tell you a little bit how we approach this thing towards educators. So what is the education that we're looking at the current stage? I know everybody sitting here, you're innovators, and you are talking about very new things, new technologies. You may not relate it directly to education, but you're definitely going to face it if there's no future talents coming up on the market. But the problem is that currently in schools, this is how they teach. You see, teachers is handling everything, and students are receiving everything. It's a one-way traffic. And it's only about knowledge. It's only about what you can remember from the textbooks. Even coding is taught in this way. And there's a little bit problem, is that when you learn language, for example, English, the purpose is not just to remember all the grammar, but the purpose is to communicate. Same as coding, that when you're talking about programming and everything, the purpose is actually to solve problems. And that's the thing lacking in the education. So we'll say, in the future, what education should be. So what teachers should do. In the classrooms, teachers should understand one point, that you're not experts. Just accept it. You're not the one that has to own the knowledge all the time, but you are an educator, or let's say you're a mentor. The job is to find out if kids like it, if they can handle it, if they are going on the right direction, or if they are exploring enough. And if you look at the graph, students are exploring everything themselves, and teachers are just facilitating the courses. That's what we believe the future education, especially STEAM education, should be. And it should be about inspiring, it should be about multidisciplinary, it should be solving the problems, and it should be about the knowledge, how to use it, instead of to remember it just in your head. But I know for teachers, it sounds really difficult. So Jackie Chan also looks like difficult for him. And because a lot of teachers all over the world, they become teachers because they want to spend time with kids, because they want to control the process. They want to make sure kids learn whatever they need to learn. But who defines the knowledge transferring? And that's the problem for teachers. So that's why we're passing a message called keep calm and have fun. And keep calm is basically for teachers. Relax. It's your classroom. You're still taking control, but you're taking control of the process, not the knowledge. And especially all of the teachers, actually, you cannot be the experts in the classroom. So the change is very obvious. That also, this will lead to a change of how you teach, the way of teaching, and also the setup in the classroom. Because when teachers becoming a facilitator, then the classroom will also transform to the way that's centered with students. And when you have one interactive smart screen in the classroom, and you're still doing the traditional way, because interactive means teachers will interact with the smart screen, not the students. So that's why a lot of new classrooms, actually, they are centered as round tables, and students can sit together, discuss about it, and do things and solve problems. On the other hand, I think students should also remember a thing, or for teachers should remember what let students to do, is they should have fun. Everybody knows interest is the best teacher. And also refer to the question from last presentation, is do we actually need to teach them everything like related to coding or technology? No, we don't have to. But we have to make sure if there are kids are interested in this field, we can find it out. And we can see if they're having fun in their studying process. And by just stuffing everything, knowledge into their heads, you're never going to inspire them or find out interest. You may just kill the next chief engineer in NASA or somewhere else. So basically what we think, the classrooms, more interactive, but more interactive between students. And also it should be multidisciplinary. Actually, I'm just elaborating like several points when I see it. Why disciplinary? Like when you're looking at the current industry, it's very rarely you're doing one thing anymore. But you always have to connect different topics and put different solutions together to solve different problems. But in the classroom, in the education systems, we still talk about biology, physics, math, arts or languages, everything just separately. And then you will only create individual, like standalone islands of knowledge, and they cannot use this knowledge to solve problems. So that's why the future STEAM education classroom should be also multidisciplinary. But on the other hand, talking about the job markets, you rarely see the needs of very specific single task workers. So which means that our educational system is trying to produce talents, which is having off on the market. And they learn 20 years, they go to the job markets, and they can't find a job. They have to learn a lot of things from scratch again. And that's why we should also encourage all these technologies to go to the younger education and start to tell them what is AI. That's actually a good example, like AI, we're talking about it every day, but on the other hand, in education, we start to worry if we should bring AI into classroom, because this is computer-related, there are too many things, privacy, everything. But think about it, those kids, 10 years later, AI is gonna be their daily life. You're basically literally murdering their future life by in the classroom trying to ignore everything already becoming so hot topic on the market. And of course, team efforts, that's also something, especially I grew up in China, so you see in Chinese classrooms, everybody's sitting next to each other, but there's no interaction, there's no teamwork. But new STEAM education with robotics, with all these kind of tools, it's basically to encourage teamwork, and they also fit in bigger projects in the future. And what we want to, throughout all this platform, is to make sure our students that they can actually get used to their life in the future, that what we see as the future is actually their life. But on the other hand, teaching them technology, robotics, I remember last year, Ross from Robotex, that they are having discussions always about moral standards towards drones, towards robotics. That's exactly the point. You can't avoid it. Why not we teach them how to responsibly use all the technology when they are young, rather than just worry about someone just invent some killing machines in the future. So at the end, I want to show you a little bit our approach, that how we help transform the education, also how we help teachers to understand this thing. Before that, basically, we had kind of like thoughts in the companies. We say creation is art, right? And if you think about art, painting or music, usually you don't think about how hard is it to learn piano, but when you're talking about music, you're thinking about how hard to actually make melody out of it. And the learning part is just a very fundamental learning process there. And for painting, drawing as well, that you don't really worry about colors or worry about the pens that you're choosing. You learn about it, but that's not essence in creation. And our idea is STEAM education is also art, which means in STEAM education, in teaching robotics, you actually shouldn't focus on the robotics. The hardware is not something you should be worried about. Hardware is just a tool, it's a platform, and based on that, you should be able to teach everything that you want to teach. So what we try to do is bring out a solution, 500 different pieces, with we lower the barrier of technologies. So that also means we don't create something toy-like for classroom, but we bring technologies like Arduino, like a Raspberry Pi, like IoT, AI, deep learning, all kinds of things, and then we make it easier. Everybody knows Scratch programming, and you know how easy it is for education. And then we do Scratch for hardware. And then you can program your robots with Scratch, and you can also learn further with that. But that's real. That's when you learn it, then you can focus on how you can use Arduino or use IoT projects to basically make an application out of it. And when the barrier is lowered, everybody can focus on creation and also focus on how you solve the problems. And that's exactly the story of us and what we try to bring to the markets. And with that, and we want to prepare and bring the technology to education to make sure everything becoming a new style that everybody can have a chance to contact the STEAM education. So just a little bit overview of this. For example, you see a lot of selections of things, and you can put them all together. It looks quite complex, but these things is just a platform. And we use this to make prototypes like folding a paper plane or a robotics arm to pick up flyers or business cards. But you see, every creation there, you basically solve one small steps, solve a problem, and throughout that, students really learn. And that's the beauty of the platforms that we provide there. And Scratch for hardware, easy to connect. And all kinds of platforms. Basically, you can cover AI, deep learning, Python, Arduino C. And for learning platforms, also for teachers, we basically also bring all the software, hardware, languages, and open source. Everybody can join the platform for that. And we take contents and also our competitions now in Robotex, and also in China this year, 25 countries coming to China for competition. Something like this. And this is actually a competition in China for high school level, no, middle school level. So that's age 13 to 15. And they're competing, they're making their own robots to finish the tasks. And we did a giant robotics lesson in Mexico. There's 900 students were there. Shane was there. Yeah. And of course, for a lot of countries, they also see, because this is an affordable solution, so we're in Africa, and there are also teams from Mali. They're supposed to be in a competition that Sander also mentioned. And we also work together with them to bring robotics to there, to help them to transform the education in Guatemala. And of course, our robots also, as a research project, went to Antarctic and had a selfie with penguins. Or we work with Fossum partners on the Mars mission. And we also work with the European Commission for Code Week movement. But you see, like everything, you're not talking about the robotics, the robots you're using, the details of the hardwares, but we are talking about projects. We're talking about ideas that how we can implement this, how we can solve problems. And that's supposed to be, as a hardware company, as a solution provider, that we want to see, that forget about us. Just focus on what you want to create. So that's why at the end, we hope in this whole industry, we're still young, but we're creating platforms with Robotex, with everyone, that we should all join the STEAM education. It's a very big, not only market, but it's also very important, urgent thing in the education. And just like Kiki also said, like everybody should join this thing, look at it, look at education, look at their problems, and start to transform the education, the form in all kinds of subjects. And bringing all the technologies and methods and everything to classroom to see a different future, instead of just stuck with our own past way of education. So that's it. That's my message today, and that's what I want to discuss. And teachers just should embrace the future and keep calm, and don't be nervous. And children, you should just have fun.
Thank you very much. Round of applause, please. Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Hu before we go? We have a question down here from the young man. If we could have a microphone down here, please. Just a moment, sir.
Due to the MBOT, I was able to learn decimal points negatives before 2-3 years before I actually learned in the class. And I'm taking my technology class right now. And the rest of my class, we're doing a program thing. It took them an entire week of work to complete a lesson. I was able to do it in one day due to the MBOT.
Good for you. And you also get first place in the competition in Texas, right?
Mexico.
In Mexico, yeah.
So starting early is the key here,
Yeah.
very much so. Oh, nice. Thank you, young man. Anybody else? Down here, the gentleman in the front. Doesn't matter, I'll go. Boom!
It was a great talk, by the way. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
The group of teachers are pretty conservative around the world. So how are you planning to tackle that?
I think it's actually really big joint efforts from all the parties, from governments and from a lot of different parties and our educational resellers as well. What we need to do as a company is that except producing all the hardwares or platforms, we have to prepare also curriculums and all the instructions, and also in a fun way to tell them. On the other hand, I think we work with Future Classroom Lab in European SchoolNet, and the idea is basically they create a space and to show all the teachers all kinds of different ways of teaching, and teachers should supposed to go there and learn what's going on all over the world. And I think we really hope also from government side they could give more supports to this. And the other thing is also about the policies that you see when countries have policies, like France or UK, they move really fast in the education, STEAM education. Other countries can be really slow without the support of the government. So this is a really joint effort, but we do our best from industry, and we hope others can also join us.
Very nice, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else just as I've missed before we go? Oh, we have a hand at the back of the room. Please.
Thank you for the great speech. My question would be that how you use those tools to teach history, for example, and why this, like, is this incremental value to the education system, or is it like disrupting it somehow, or I'm a bit confused.
No, so basically what we say, we're bringing a new STEAM education tools, but we don't limit it to any subjects. The idea is that with the tools, how you can teach in the classroom, that to use your current curriculum to transform using new technologies. Like, for example, one of our platforms has there are smart sensors that you can do IoT projects. And then in the biology lessons, you can basically teach kids about the moisture of the soils and how to automatically water it. And further, you can teach them how to code in the way remotely water your plants. So you see, the whole transformation of the education is also give up the idea about you're only teaching about the soil moisture, but you're actually teaching everything about how to solve this plant watering question that's in the classroom. And the kids actually need to learn that instead of to know how to read a number, say 50% of other things. So that's also our efforts trying to do with the textbooks and the instructions, to basically based on projects. It's a project-based learning to tell the teachers how they can combine different subjects. From there, they can start to learn how to involve their own knowledge or their own lessons with the new tools. So again, this is just a platform, and the possibility is there, and we should forget about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. We need to move on from here, please. One more round of applause, Mr. Hu. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.